Hi, everyone. My name is Rose Horowitz. I am a Pulitzer-nominated journalist and the founder of Women to Follow. I'm thrilled to host this episode 29 for an exciting countdown episode to talk about the inaugural Women to Follow Summit on February 28th. And my producer is here. And this Jennifer Navarrete is a podcast producer and Web3 evangelist. And we'll be talking about the what, when, why, and how of the summit.
Rose, I'm so excited to be here. I mean, the countdown to the Women to Follow Summit. I mean, February is a short month, but I have to tell you, it's not short enough because I cannot wait for the 28th.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we part of the reason we're doing this on February 28th is to get right ahead of Women's History Month, which starts on March 1.
Absolutely. So, Rose, I've been following your journey, the Women to Follow journey. You've got a year and a half of shows. It's really a dynamic cause and a mission that you have to amplify women's voices. And I have to ask you, why is now the time for a Women to Follow Summit?
I think that we're facing such a crucial point in for women. Look at what's happening in the world for women. In the U.S., we're the government. Some parts of the country are taking us in some of the parts of the country. We're 50 years where we were, where we, we're going back in time instead of forward. And in countries like Afghanistan, Ukraine, and Iran, the rights of women and democracy are under threat in a very dramatic way. So I thought that we really need to focus on this. Sometimes depending on what's happening in the world, we might hear in the beginning we heard all about Ukraine, and for a while we heard about Iran, and of course now there's this terrible earthquake in Turkey. So the whole region, the whole Middle East is spinning. And then I wanted to tie to that we're all grounded. I mean, those of us in the U.S., we're hearing about what's happening overseas, and we want to be involved. And I want people to hear about those issues. And then for ourselves, we have to make our way in the world, and we have to be empowered. So I'm going to be talking to a few entrepreneurs who are doing great things with their businesses, and forging the way for women in business. And the third focus, the third panel, is going to be about women in tech, and particularly women in Web3 and AI. And Jennifer is going to be hosting that panel. And
let me
what
tell you
should we know about that, Jennifer?
Anyone who knows me,
in 5 words.
I know, right? Anyone who knows me knows I'm all about Web3 for creators. And those of us who create content, you're a creator. And if you're going to be creating content, why not also look at Web3? So when Rose said, I think we can do a panel on Web3 and AI, and I was like, ooh. Let me lean in a little bit on this. And I love this tack that you're taking, though, because you're looking at women's issues globally. In some areas, there's a lot of progress. In some areas, there's lack of progress, or even, as you said, moving backwards. And so that's a really important topic to discover and to have a dynamic discussion on. And then the second part of where women can empower themselves. And I really like that, because it's not just about maybe we see someone and we go, oh, I could never do that. And the reality is we can all do those things. And I feel like after we listen and hear from our group of panelists, that you're going to be inspired to take action on maybe a dream that you've had. And then in that third section, I kind of already talked about that. I'm super jazzed about what Web3 has to offer us as creators and entrepreneurs, and especially women globally, because what's possible for me here in Texas is possible for someone in Ghana, it's possible for someone in Malaysia, it's possible for someone anywhere, because it's a leveling of the playing field. And to me, that's a beautiful thing. And it ties really well into your whole mission that you have to amplify women's voices.
It does, Jennifer, and I'm very proud to amplify yours. Uh, of course, I see we do have. I'll just mention we have a few people tuning in. We didn't give much notice for this show because we had so much to pull together. But Brent is watching us from Ottawa. Thank you, Brent. Brent is a great champion of rights for people with disabilities.
Hmm.
Uh,
Fantastic. Thank you,
so
Brent.
we're happy here, Brent. Uh, so where can people find this? Let's
Hmm.
nitty gritty, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So February 28th, which is a Tuesday, and we're going to do this summit start at 10 o'clock, and there'll be 3 panels, and it'll go till 12 or 12:30. And we're using a new feature, in the building publicly as we are. We're going to be using StreamYard has a new webinar on-air webinar feature, so people can go to the site that you're seeing below. We have a Bitly link to it and register, and it's very easy. Just your name, um, and very easy to do. And there's also a QR code which we think is fun. And Jennifer will show us that soon. There you go. And if you just take your phone, go to that QR code, it'll within seconds come up with a link. It'll take you to the StreamYard place where you can register. So I'm very excited to see the crowds that will be registering because no one wants to miss this. Everybody who I've told about it is really excited.
So,
And
Rose, something I'm noticing on this
Mhm.
QR code is
Yeah,
a wonderful sponsor who is a gold level sponsor for this event.
yes, very excited. I've been making a lot of calls, a lot of networking. I was in Florida. I met with somebody who's in PR, and here I've been Zoom on a lot of Zooms, talking to people to get them interested to support the summit and the work that we're doing. And one of the companies is so a gold level sponsor. I'm very happy to announce is 10th Avenue Holdings, and they are a uh, okay. There we go. 10th Avenue Holdings invests and operates in innovator-led consumer businesses focused on brands that delight people and pets. They really have some very cool brands. I think there's one, some kind of pet toys. There's one, um, some kind of like gift cacti gift, thing you can send people. So there's some very cool, innovative projects and very socially aware. So I'm very happy to have them as a sponsor.
Well, I have to say
And
that I love the delight. People and pets, they delight. I'm like, what a
yeah,
great tagline. Who wrote that? I love
yeah,
it. Way to go, 10th Avenue
agreed.
Holdings.
I had no idea, um, until that they came through with that tagline. I said, "Oh, well, yeah, that's a good writer." All right.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I'm going to be on a show tomorrow with Zealous with Greg Gregarious or Greg. His Twitter handle is Gregarious and his name is Greg. And he's the founder of Zealous .one, and he's going to be a partner for the summit. And I'm very excited to use. He's giving me access to his to be a community member, which is like the top level, and I'll be able to make lots of exciting clips, video clips, and audio clips. And they've got really innovative. Every time he does a town hall, I think he announces what they're working on and where they are, and if you follow them on Twitter you'll see that too. And we are still open for more sponsors. Sponsoring this show is a way of showing your support for women, and I've been we need to amplify women's voices because so often, even on places like Twitter, you can go into a room and see 10 men, and they might be talking among themselves and not really think, oh, there's not this awareness, you know, we need to count women. We need to bring them, up to the stage. We need to hear their voices. And the idea of and the way I've been the idea of amplifying women's voices is not to shoot down anybody who's not doing it, but rather to get those names out in the public. And I've interviewed, for just during my show, at least like 40 guests, and they've been there's a woman who wrote a book about being an African American in Sweden and what that's like, and a woman who became deaf in school and wrote about sort of coming of age. So just great stories. And unless you really, unless you put those names out there, we're not going to hear them. We hear of Michelle Obama, but we need to hear all these other people, all these other women who are doing great things.
Well, I think something that you said really resonated with me right now. I'm like, ooh, that's like a golden gem. You said that we need to make room to amplify women's voices, but at the same time, we as women can amplify ourselves and amplify others, which is exactly what you're doing, Rose.
Somebody put it. I was on a podcast and with Timothy Hughes, who's in London, and he said, Rose, you've had experience, and now you're lifting all the you're lifting all these women up, and I do love that idea of lifting up other women, because you're right. When you lift up other women, everyone benefits. Everyone is lifted up and shine. And everyone can shine.
Fantastic. So Rose, you've got a lot going on online. People are looking at the link that they can see, but what about, where else can they go to keep up with you? Because you're a dynamo. I mean, I have trouble keeping up with you myself. So how is the world supposed to keep up with Rose?
The world should keep up. I'm most active on Twitter. So I have 2 accounts on Twitter, Rose Horowitz 31. And woman to follow with underscores between the 2 follow, between the words. But because I always post whatever I'm doing that's new and that I want people to know about, it's always my pinned tweet. So when I'm doing about to do a show, I will post a promo of the show and how to find, how to watch it. And for the summit, if you go to my pinned tweet, the first tweet has the link to register on StreamYard, and the second tweet is answers that question of why now, and the 3 panels I'm going to be focusing on.
That's so phenomenal. I just can't wait. Like I said, February, we already know it's a short month. It needs to be shorter because we got to get to February 28th. And you, my dear viewer, need to register to be there live, but also to be part of that bonus session that Rose talked about, where we're going to actually have some interactive call to action moments together, which I think is so powerful and is another way that we can amplify one another's voices.
And we'll also be, by using StreamYard and being live on all these platforms, people like, Brent, who tuned in, can ask questions, and Jennifer will, vet the questions. And, so while there's a panel, and we may have, if they're really terrific questions, we'll be able to get to those questions. And
Fantastic.
everyone, the idea of this webinar is, some webinars, you have no ability to participate, but using StreamYard and using StreamYard, you can participate through LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube when you watch.
That's fantastic. So this isn't the only countdown show that we're doing, though, is it?
No, I think we need to get the word out, and this one is sort of we're testing it out and seeing how the flow is, because you don't want to get to anyone who's a creator doesn't want to wait until the day of and say, okay, everything's working. Well, is it working? And there's lots of tech things that can go on when you're doing a live stream, when you're doing Twitter Spaces. We spent yesterday just in the we had a show planned in the afternoon when Twitter went bonkers and people couldn't tweet. You had to schedule a tweet. You couldn't DM anyone. just craziness. What was working were spaces, because people were talking about all the craziness in like two huge spaces. But so the beauty of doing this show this way is that we have several, we're on several platforms. So
Mm-hmm.
if one should go down at that moment,
Mm-hmm.
we got you covered.
Yeah, we got the backup to the backup to the backup.
Exactly. And I'm so lucky to have Jennifer, who's such a pro. And I always admire her technical and also just her. She's you're such a generous person with your knowledge.
Aw, thank you,
So
Rose. I mean, it's truly my honor and privilege to be part of the Women to Follow Summit. I mean, I am very excited by what we're bringing to the table. I love the fact that you wanted to do this as a lead into Women's History Month. As you said, there's a lot going on in Women's History Month. And so one of the nice things about doing this right, leading right into it, is that then you can start pointing to all of those other events and all of those other speakers and all of those other powerful ways. So the Women to Follow Summit actually gets to amplify all of the other Women's History Month events, which I think is the best thing that could happen.
exactly. I mean, hopefully I'll have time before the event to put together a best of kind of, or people that I know who are, who I've interviewed who are speaking. If they're not speaking at my summit, they're speaking somewhere else. So that's exciting. It's exciting to see the movement, I see in people's careers. The book author from who's living in Sweden just got a 2-book deal. She also is an entrepreneur and doing like travel, virtual travel, in-person travel. She's just, gung-ho doing everything.
That's phenomenal. I mean, I think that's kind of everyone who's ever been on your show, myself included, we're all part of the Women to Follow alumni, and to track where the alumni go off into the world to continue to amplify, to continue to blaze trails is an amazing journey that this little hashtag that's not so little that you started all that time ago. And I just
Yeah.
am so excited by this.
Well, it's we'll talk about it some other time, but it was organic. I've told everybody, I was at the gym, saw a tweet about how in Washington, the 82% of men follow and retweet men, but the same percentage is true for women, which is like what? And then of the men, with the men, they only like retweeted 3 to 5 women, if they did. And I said, like, this has to change. And I put out a tweet that said, let's get this party started. I'm going to name 3 women to follow. And I named women like Liza Donnelly, who's an artist, and, just a woman in different fields.
Mhm.
And I went to the library to do my story or whatever I was working on, and my feed was just exploding. So it was very exciting. It was global, and I had 12 million views of the hashtag in the first 2 weeks. And I went on some shows. I wrote some stories, and the idea that I've been following through with is this idea of keeping that thread going. So once I created the thread and, the hashtag that went viral, I said, well, what else can I do? And I started interviewing, like I interviewed 17 women and wrote profiles. And then once I got this experience as a producer, I started the live stream show. So that's been, exciting. And I do have, I have a Twitter list of the guests I've had on. I have Twitter lists that I started, when I see an issue, and I know, you have to be really, to get guests like I try to get, you have to be really on top of the news. So I'm watching, news, I'm reading the paper, and I'm creating Twitter lists. So for like the Ukraine show, which I did within 2 weeks, it was through, being on a space, hearing a woman from Italy, DMing her saying, oh, well, do you know somebody who's, oh yeah, well, there's this journalist who's in Ukraine, but studied Italian, who I know from, and it's just, you just keep building, and, you just keep networking. And that's, but I love that, because I love news, and I love seeing what different, women are doing, and really having a range of women, because there are, groups like Women in Tech, or, women professors or women in medicine, but I like this idea that that it's a global hashtag that is encompasses so many fields of expertise for women.
Wow. It's so inspiring. And this summit is just the beginning of what will happen from here. Because as you told that story, it's like I could just see the building blocks and the building blocks and the building blocks. And this is something that is definitely worth participating in, amplifying, registering for, and being part of. You can say, folks, that you were there for the inaugural event. You're not going to want to miss that.
I'm very proud and just I don't know what to say. I'm sort of humbled, but thank you, Jennifer.
All right, so we are going to put this up on the screen for you all to get your phones out. I'm giving you a warning. Get your phones out, and I'm going to put this on here.
That's all it does. It's all it takes. And just again, thank you to 10th Avenue Holdings for being a sponsor. It
absolutely.
Really helps.
It does. It does. Rose, close us out.
Okay. Well, I want everybody to know that I want all of you to register, men, women, college kids, your high schoolers, because I think that this is, open to everyone. And, we'll all benefit by seeing this window into the issues that women around the world are facing, the issues that we're facing close to home with our own businesses and pocketbooks, and the opportunities that women around the world will have through AI and through Web3. Because what we're seeing today in the quickening of development of Web3, and we see these huge, vast, this is going to be just vast changes, I think, in how we learn, how we do medicine, and a lot of that will be driven by AI. So it's really exciting time to be looking at these different women that we're going to be talking to, and I encourage everybody to register and support Women to Follow. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.